Okay, let's have a look at the rhythm sheet. What you want to do is grab one of these, get a download. It's got all the exercises that you're going to need to learn rhythm. I'll just quickly go through the first part here, how to use this book. Begin by clapping the exercises, then strumming with muted strings, as I showed you earlier, and finally bring in some chords or play with scales if you're using doing the exercises as picking exercises. Remember, we divide it into two areas. One is strumming and one is picking. So when you're picking, you're doing things like chords and arpeggios. When you're strumming, you're doing chords basically. Now, once you're comfortable with the exercise, you should then combine exercises. So, as you'll see, if you can do the first exercise and the second exercise, then try to do the first and the second, a bar of each. Just combine the two so they're rotating over, and that gets you used to doing longer patterns rather than just one bar patterns. Now, that'll basically make it limitless for the exercises that are in here. So all the exercises here, if you just keep coming up with new combinations forevermore, it doesn't matter, even if you're an advanced player and you've come across this video and come across our rhythm sheet, by combining these and doing different things with them, it's really limitless, the amount of things that you can do, and it's always going to be improving your rhythm. So a couple of things to remember: practice exercises using a metronome to improve the accuracy. It's really important that you can play to a metronome, but don't always practice with a metronome. You need to learn to play without a metronome as much as playing with one. Begin very slowly and gradually and increase your speed over time. Apply the exercises to both picking and strumming, and then video yourself so you can see how you look, see how your arms moving, your picking motion, etc., and just assess yourself while you're not actually concentrating on the picking. Okay, so let's have a look here. We're going to start here with lesson 1, and that's really for your first lesson. It depends on your age and depends where you're at, but really all you want to do is just focus on this first lesson if you're an absolute beginner. If these exercises are easy for you, then you can move on to other lessons. So what happens here? Exercise number 1, what we're looking at here, 1, 2, 3, 4, is very straightforward. You're just going to play on the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. So it should sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So just keep doing that to your metronome. Once you can do it with the metronome, then turn the metronome off and try and do it without the metronome, counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And even though these exercises can seem very simple and very easy, if you don't get it right, then your problems are going to carry over. A friend who I knew many years ago, he never actually got the rhythm right, and so he was never able to really take his music to the next level. He never played in a band, and it was all because he didn't get his rhythm right. He didn't get the counting right. He couldn't stay in time with something else like a metronome or another person, a drummer, etc. Because the reason we use a metronome is because eventually, hopefully, you're going to play with another drummer, another guitarist, a singer, and so forth. So you've got to be able to keep time. So this is where it all starts. Get this right, and the rest of it will sort itself out. Now, these little guys here are what we call repeats signs, and that means that you're going to the bar 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. But really, there's no end to this. You can do it as many times as you need to get it right. So exercise number 2. Now, in this exercise, we've got what we call a rest. This on the first beat here, this is called a rest. So in this case, we're not going to play on the first beat, and then we're going to play 2, 3, 4. Now, remember that if you're playing a chord, this is really important, is that a rest doesn't mean that you don't play. It means that there is silence. So it means that there has to be something there to actually stop it. So that means muting. So if I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4 on the chord, and then repeating that, when I come back to the 1, I've got to make sure that I stop the sound. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You can hear that I'm putting my hand, and this is the muting that we talked about earlier. I'm putting my hand down onto that to stop that from sounding out. So that's the muting on the first, and then 2, 3, 4, again repeating that, doing those over and over again. Now, as I said, once you can do exercise 1 and 2, try combining them. So you've got exercise 1, 2. So you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to do that with you now, just to give you a little feel of how it should be. So it'll be like this. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's what you need to do with the rhythm exercises. Work through as many as you can. Exercise number 3 here, where you see this little hat, top hat, that means we rest on the 1 and the 2, and you're going to play the 3 and the 4. So it'd sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then you're going to combine it with 2, combine it with 1, and that way you're really ingraining these rhythms, really getting solid on the different combinations. And as you can see, there are 12 exercises in total for lesson 1. Make sure you can do each and every one in combination, and that will take you plenty of time. It'll take you maybe a couple of weeks to really go through every combination there and get it right. It doesn't mean you can't move on to lesson 2. You can, and I'll just give you a quick preview of lesson 2 here, and that's where we bring in the eighth notes. But with lesson 2, if you're going to move forward onto lesson 2 before you've completed lesson 1, only do exercise 1. Don't go beyond that. Just simply get used to the down, up. And where we've got the ends here, they're upstrokes. So we go down on the beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are all down strokes, and the ends are upstrokes. So in this case, you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So the ends I'm coming up, and the ones I'm going down. Okay, so that's enough for rhythm. What we're going to look at now is I'm going to introduce you to the reading. All right, so let's have a look at reading. And this is the reading text that we use. And what this will do is teach you how to read. It will teach you the fundamentals of reading music. Reading is really important. I'm just going to quickly go through why. Many guitarists today do not read music. Reading music does not make you a great guitarist, and I will point that out. Just because you can read, it's not going to make you really any better than someone who doesn't read. But as you're going to see, there are still lots of advantages to reading. There are thousands of examples of great guitar players who never learned to read, but given the choice, most would like to possess the skill. Imagine not being able to read this page. You could survive quite well if you did not read and only spoke English, but you would be missing out on what the written English language has to offer. And it's the same with music. If you don't learn to read music, you'll miss out on that side of it. So I won't go through all of that now. You can have a read of that, but that gives you a bit of an idea of why we should read. Now, just quickly introducing the different elements that you need to understand. Very important. The fingers. So we've got fingers on these are basically the fingers that you're going to play the notes with. So if you're right-handed, this will be your left-hand fingers. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 being your pinky, and 1 being the index finger there. So 4 fingers. Get to know the finger numbers. Practice touching your thumb with each finger and saying 1, 2, 3, 4 in different combinations. Get used to the 1, 2, 3, 4. It might seem a simple exercise again, but these are the things that prepare you to respond quickly. It has to be, when I say finger number 3, you need to be able to know quickly which is finger number 3, because once we get into combinations of things, then it gets tricky if you can't instantly connect with the right fingers. Now, the strings, you've got strings 1 to 6. Remember, 6 is the thickest. Just think the bigger the number, the thicker the string. So string number 1. Sometimes people think that it's the other way around because string number 1 is on the bottom, string number 6 is on the top. They expect it to be the reverse. So remember that order. I'm going to go over this in the next part of this lesson when we go back to off the screenshot, back onto the guitar, and I'll explain all this again. So don't worry if you don't quite get it. String names. These are the string names. Easy way to remember the string names. Easter Bunny goes driving at Easter. It's, again, a silly little thing, but it doesn't matter. Kids love it. If you're an adult, then you can love it as much. Easter Bunny goes driving at Easter. All you want to do is get to know these note names. If you've got something better you can think of, use it, whatever it takes. Okay, frets. Fret numbers are numbered from 1 near the nut. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. It's very logical. So when we say play in fret number 1, we're talking about playing behind the fret. So in this case, fret number 1 is between the nut and the fret itself. So we're talking about putting our fingers down in this section here. So when I say play fret number 2, I'm talking about playing between that first and second fret. Okay, music alphabet, A, B, C, D, F, G. Try learning that backwards as well, G, F, A, D, C, B, A, because it really helps with learning music if you can say the alphabet backwards, as you will learn. I won't go into why right now, but just trust me on that one. These are all the notes in the different positions. We won't go through all of them now, but really what you're going to be learning first of all is E, F, and G, the notes on the first string. So if you can just get to know those three notes, E being the open, F being on the first fret, and then the G being on the third fret, and that's E, F, and G. These are where they are placed on the stave. What you need to do is simply learn where each of those are, and you can use the old traditional method of face, F-A-C-E, that helps you to learn the spaces, and every good boy deserves fruit, makes the F there. So it's not written here, but if you can remember those, F-A-C-E, face, and every good boy deserves fruit, that will help you to remember those. And think of G being G for guitar, sitting right on top of the stave, so it's the one up there. So you can see they just go one after the other. E under the line is F, sitting on top of that top line is G, E, F, and G. You just need to remember those three guys for now. Familiarize yourself, do whatever you need to do to remember those guys. Write them on cards, carry them with you. Okay. Music theory basics. Here we've got the treble clef, time signature, we've got a stave, we've got bar line, double bar. Just familiarize yourself with all those terms. There are different kinds of notes here. We've got a whole tone, we've got minims, which are half notes, we've got crotchets, which are quarter notes, eighth notes, which are quavers, and semiquavers. Now, if you're in America, US, you say whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th. If you're in the UK, Australia, then it's semi-breve, minim, crotchet, quaver, semiquaver. Now, there are also what we call dotted notes. That extends a note by half its value. So basically, if you've got a note worth the whole note here, which is worth a whole bar, four beats. If it's got a dot, then it becomes worth 6 beats. The one that you'll probably see most commonly is the crotchet here, which is worth 1 beat, so it becomes worth, with a dot, 1.5 beats. Okay, time signature, 4/4, for example, the top number equals the number of beats per bar, and the bottom number represents the value of a beat. So this helps us to understand how to read the music. And so if we've got say 2/4 there instead of 4/4, it means there are 2 beats in a bar, and it means that 1 beat is represented by a quarter note. So that 4 there is represented by a quarter note or a crotchet. If that bottom number was an 8, it would be represented by an eighth note or a quaver. Now, if that's a little bit confusing, these are the kind of things that are a little bit difficult to explain in a short video, but a teacher can certainly help you with that. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to go to the first string exercises. I'm now going to switch back to the third part of this lesson, and you'll get to see the guitar and see how these exercises apply. I want you to keep these exercises in front of you, and I'm going to work through them with you. See you in a minute.